To contrast the last few of these updates, this fortnight has actually gone rather quickly. Welcome to A Fortnight on the Isle. I am your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and we're here for another episode to wrap up my last couple of weeks, and then to give you some minor updates on what I'm kind of expecting to be working on over the couple of weeks ahead. Perhaps part of the reason why this past fortnight has seemed to go a little bit more quickly than say the last couple of fortnights before that was because basically every day this past fortnight was spent just catching up on a lot of work. The last couple times I did an update like this, I basically said something along the lines of, yeah, I've been working a lot every day, and that has filled enough of my day that 1 week being able to work has felt like 2 weeks worth of work prior to quitting my job. So now I'm in a spot where the last couple of weeks I haven't actually been able to work that much. I've had some other things going on. But with all that being said, I've still been making some progress on a couple of exciting fronts. Some others that I'm still behind on a little bit, but everything is looking pretty good. It's been a pretty decent month so far, and I'm looking forward to what the rest of August may bring, even though it's looking to be pretty busy. We'll get to that a little bit more at the end of the video. But before we go any further, I do want to thank everybody one final time for the 39 unique entrants who participated in the Sun Eater giveaway that I announced with the Shadows Upon Time review that I did a number of weeks back, about halfway through July, if I'm not mistaken. The giveaway, which ended at the end of July. 3 winners were picked a couple of weeks ago. Winnings were shipped out respectively recently. I believe at least a couple of the sets of those have made it to their respective recipient by now, but I know all of them are at the very least en route. Tyler won the buttons, Brandon with a Y won the art print, and Andrew won the books. So congratulations to Tyler, Brandon, and Andrew. I hope you enjoy your winnings, and thank you again for participating, including to the 36 others who did not win but were willing to enter. I'm very proud of what I was able to do with that giveaway, and I'm looking forward to doing a couple more here, maybe by year's end, definitely one more by year's end if I can have my way with things. But for now, let's move on to your regularly scheduled programming of A Fortnight on the Isle here, and go into the bi-weekly reading, in which in the last couple of weeks, there's been surprisingly little going on, little to update here, but there is still a bit to talk about either way. Last time I talked about how I had started While Darkness Gathers, and that I should have had the time to actually read this entire book in that previous fortnight, but which I got sidetracked by gaming stuff and therefore didn't finish it. But I was about 2/3 of the way through when I recorded the last fortnight on the Isle, and true to my word, I did finish it basically around the time that that video came out. So everything ended up working out. The end of this book was really good and definitely satisfied on many of the promises that it set up. And I'm pretty sure I actually have a review of this coming out pretty soon, but of course we will talk about all of that in the upcoming releases section of the video. But I enjoyed this book, and I'm looking forward to you guys hearing a little bit more about that very soon. The other thing, I did continue a little bit more of Howling Dark, working on that. I know I'm holding up Empire of Silence here, but that's the Sun Eater book that I happen to have immediately accessible to me because of videos that I've recorded recently. So that's the one I held up, but I am over 2/3 of the way through Howling Dark now. I believe I'm probably more like 70% of the way through at this point, maybe even a little bit further than that. I will definitely be finished with Howling Dark by the end of the month, which means I'll be finished by the next fortnight on the Isle, which will be great because I've been working on that for several weeks at this point, kind of slowly on the side, but I have been doing that. And then the other major update for this section of this video is I started reading Don Quixote as I planned to. Didn't get as far as I was hoping, but also as far as I planned when, you know, things kind of started shifting in my schedule. Not least because of gaming, you know, taking time away from reading While Darkness Gathers. I'm about a quarter of the way through this. I'm through 3 of the 4 parts of the first part, if that makes any sense. But the next quarter, finishing the first half, will get me through part 1 of the book. And then part 2 I'll probably read over like the back half of September or something like that. So over these next couple of weeks, preferably all this week if I can manage it, and I should be able to if pace keeps up to what I was able to do this last week, for example. I should be able to get up to that halfway point. I'm looking forward to continuing this. Don Quixote has been an interesting ride so far in that there's a lot of material in it that is like really delightful and super fun and engaging. And then there's some other material that's like tragic in ways that I don't want the book to be tragic with. That is like, and maybe tragic's not even the right word. There are just a couple of decisions regarding some of the characters that I'm not in love with. So I'm like, at the same time, super delighted by a lot of what I'm experiencing, but also kind of frustrated by some of what else I'm experiencing in there, which is just a really weird experience. But I'll have to get at least through the rest of part 1 to kind of have an idea of what I actually feel about that first half. Especially since part 1 and part 2 were separated by like a decade or something in the times that they were written. So I know that they have different focuses. So I got to get through the first half to actually know what's going on there. But otherwise, that is all that I have to update on the novel side of reading. There's not anything to add to the TBR section for this because all that I'm going to be reading these next couple weeks, as far as I know for certain, I'll update in the next Fortnight on the Isle if things change a little bit, but as of this moment, I'm just working to finish Don Quixote and Howling Dark. Or, sorry, not finish Don Quixote entirely, but finish part 1 of Don Quixote and then Howling Dark, and that is what I am focusing on in the near future. As for short stories, I did not read any short stories this past fortnight, but I do have a couple more that I'm going to be getting to pretty soon, assuming that I'm able to finish Howling Dark in time by the end of the month, which should be pretty easy sauce. I'm going to be reading a couple more Sun Eater related short stories in here. The bonus short story that will be coming with Christopher's special edition of Howling Dark is called Fallen Angels. That's one that he's had written for a little while. That was one that patrons of his were able to vote on. I want to say like last year or something like that. And I have access to that story now. I'm going to be reading that after I finish reading Howling Dark. I'm looking forward to that. And then as I mentioned in the last one of these updates, I do have that post Shadows Upon Time story that's going to be in an anthology to come out like next year or something like that. That I will be also reading. Life, that short story, I'll be reading after I'm done with Fallen Angels and with Howling Dark, just to have that all done this month. But that's basically all that I've got on the docket for reading stuff for this fortnight. So we'll go ahead and move into the bi-weekly gaming section of this. I did not do any gaming over the last couple of weeks either. Again, I've basically been spending every day like slowly trying to catch up on certain things that I've been behind on and not being very good at it. It just wasn't a very productive fortnight for me, all things considered, which means that I haven't had time for other auxiliary media pursuits, I guess you could call them. So like I said, didn't play anything over the last couple of weeks, but I do still plan to do some test live streams this fortnight, and it should be easier to do now because I have updated some audio settings a little bit. I have some things to still mess with a little bit, but things are in a place that I'm a little bit happier by now, which means that I should be able to do some of that. And because I have main channel videos for the next couple of weeks are all basically done, aside from one video that I actually had to re-record yesterday from the day before that because of, again, just testing audio stuff. It turned out that the change that I had made did not work, so I had to re-record that video, and I still need to edit that. But everything else that I have coming out over the next couple weeks is basically done for all intents and purposes. And then second channel videos are actually going into production, which we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later as well. I'm going to actually try to spend the next couple of weeks doing a little bit of gaming with live stream stuff. So Remnant 2, I'll do for personal live stream testing purposes, but that's kind of besides the point. Ghost of Tsushima, I do want to live stream on the second channel. However, this is something I've mentioned over the last couple times already. Optimally, I get audio stuff figured out enough to just kind of do the live streams and start doing those this month, this fortnight, over the rest of August. And optimally, second channel videos, the actual production of those goes quick enough to kind of further justify being able to spend time live streaming Ghost of Tsushima. But again, that's still kind of not entirely guaranteed. It might be something that I just have to stream entirely in September. But given some things that I've got going on in September, not quite sure yet how things are going to line up. But I'm going to try to start doing some of that this fortnight. But still playing things by ear at this point. I seriously want to make it happen this month, however. For the bi-weekly cinema, though, I did actually watch one movie over the last couple weeks. In fact, at the time that I'm recording this on Friday the 15th, I believe. Is it Friday? It is definitely Friday. Yesterday, on Thursday, I actually went and watched Weapons in the theater. That was one that, like, last week I'd considered going to see because it was getting some pretty good buzz and sentiment. But then when that good buzz and sentiment continued to kind of compound over the previous week, I was like, okay, I just want to watch this movie now. So I decided to go see that with my buddy. Both of us are not necessarily horror buffs. We don't watch a lot of horror movies, and we're both kind of wimps when it comes to scares and stuff like that. But Weapons was really, really good. I liked it a lot. I only have, like, all things considered, basically all of my complaints are pretty minor, like things like the opening narration kind of being a little bit overwrought. I didn't love that opening narration. That's like my only major complaint, if you even want to call it that. It didn't ruin my experience with the movie at all. There's a couple like weird decisions that like have me questioning things a little bit that I like wonder about, but don't necessarily bother me per se. And then there's a couple very other minor complaints besides, with like things being maybe a little bit underutilized, or not being entirely sure why certain things were in there when maybe they didn't precisely need to be. So some of that stuff I'll go into in an actual review at some point here. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie. The package was really enjoyable. Cinematography was generally pretty great, and actually some interesting decisions were made at points that were really nice, that kind of made some of those moments a little bit more impactful and make a little bit more sense. I thought the lighting of the movie was fantastic. I think that it explains a lot of itself without overindulging in that aspect. And also kind of like times a lot of the way that it explains itself really well, because the editing and kind of going back and forth with aspects of the actual timeline of the movie, it's just super well done. All of the editing is done well enough that like you automatically know when certain things are happening, regardless of when you're jumping back and forth. So like that is really great job on like the post-production side, and general production side just really good. Never lost track of anything. I think that the scares, as well as far as scares go, Weapons was really good on the scares front, because it plays on when you expect for a jump scare to happen and doesn't actually have the scare there, and so catches you off guard by doing it somewhere else in a somewhat different way. So yeah, it was just really good. The scares were great. And actually got some pretty audible reactions from me and my buddy in the theater. And I'm not somebody who tends to have audible reactions when I'm jump scared or something like that. It's usually like just me jumping and like clutching my chest, maybe like, you know, a gasp or something like that, or maybe saying something like more or less under my breath. But no, there were like audible reactions in the theater. It was great. It was just a really great experience. And basically all the complaints that I do have, I can forgive because of the earnestness of the film at the same time. It was a movie that like I was debating giving 5 stars to for a little while. I think I'm leaning a little bit more on 4.5, but really like the difference doesn't make that much of a difference. I loved Weapons. It was super great, and I think is really worth watching. If you have not watched it yet, I recommend it. Even if you don't love horror movies, it is effective enough in a lot of regards that I think is worth watching. So definitely try that out. And also, like on a gore side of things, I should just mention real quick, it's not very gory. It has a couple aspects of imagery that are a little bit more evocative, and tries to be more evocative in other ways than just sheer gore. And when it uses any of that kind of blood or anything like that, it's more effective because it's accentuated a little bit. In fact, even in like the climax, where there's, not to spoil anything, but when there's the most gore that happens in the movie is probably in the climax, but even that, it cuts away from a lot of it so that it's not all just right right in front of you. So I appreciated that as well. It's not going all in on very much of that stuff. It's just trying to be a good story, and I thought it was. I enjoyed it. For the to be watched section, I talked about this last time, thinking that I would be able to watch the first few Indiana Jones movies over the last couple weeks, but again, I just haven't really had time to. And last time I said that they weren't super high priority at that point, and that was definitely the case. But now, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade are high priority. Those are probably going to be watched this weekend. Once I'm done with this video, editing the video that I had to re-record yesterday that I mentioned earlier, and then once I get through another video, we'll talk about that in the next section. Once I'm through these projects, I'll be watching those this weekend and starting to write reviews. So, yeah, like I said, high likelihood that happens this weekend, and I'm looking forward to those experiences for sure. I'll update you in the next fortnight what I think of those. But now we are to the aforementioned upcoming releases that I've talked about a couple times up to this point already. I have 4 videos coming out each of the next 2 weeks. 2 videos on the main channel and 2 on the second channel in each case. This week, tomorrow on the 18th, will be Movie Magic Episode 3 on the second channel, which will be a review of weapons. I'm not sure what I'm going to title that yet, but I've actually written basically the introduction of that review just before I started recording this video. So like I'm working on that actively and just going to crank out that video to have it out by Monday. So the time that you're watching this, that will be out tomorrow. At the time that I'm recording this, I have a couple days to work on that. Hopefully I don't need all of those couple days. I'm hoping to just have that done before this video even comes out. So that's what's coming out tomorrow. Looking forward to that one. This Tuesday on the 19th on the main channel will be a review of We Who Wrestle with God by Jordan Peterson, a book that I finished. Was that early July, end of June, early July, when I actually circled back around to finishing that book, when I had started it all the way back in like December last year. And I'm actually going to be reviewing that on the channel. I'm pretty happy with how that review turned out, so I'm excited for that video. On this Thursday, the 21st, will be another book-related video, but that will be another discussion, and I've been debating on whether I'm actually going to announce what this video is, but I'm just going to do it. It's going to be a video titled Stop Calling Things Morally Gray. A video that was kind of teased on live streams that I was on for Chance Dillon's book release back nearly a month ago at this point, where kind of got on the discussion of morally gray characters and that kind of topic a little bit. And I mentioned at one point, it's just like, you know, this would make a good topic for a video. I made a mental note of that and I decided to make it a video. I had a couple Thursdays this month where I had discussion videos happening. Another one opened up where I needed another video idea. I was like, whatever, we'll just do that video. And that is the video that I had to re-record yesterday that I had originally recorded before that with some audio changes that didn't work out. That re-recording that I did yesterday, very good. I'm actually very happy with how that video turned out, even before I've edited it. And normally these kinds of discussion videos, I absolutely hate them until I come to the actual edit phase, and then I'm like, okay, maybe that's not so bad. But this time I'm like, I think that's like actually pretty good. So by the time I'm done with the edit, I'm probably going to be really happy with it. And I'm looking forward to people watching that. I'm also looking forward to upsetting a couple people with it as well. Because like I said, it's titled Stop Calling Things Morally Gray. Then this Friday on the second channel will be episode 4 of the Final Fantasy 1 Let's Play. JRPG Noob plays Final Fantasy. So nothing really new to go there. Next week, like I said, there will still be 4 videos coming out next week as well. On Tuesday, the 26th on the main channel will be my review of While Darkness Gathers. So I was correct. I was going to be having that review coming out soon. That will be next week. The next Wednesday on the 27th on the second channel will be when my review of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 actually comes out. I'm going to make that happen because as soon as I'm done writing the weapons video and I make that video, that review, I get that finished this weekend. Basically, all of the time that I'm going to spend doing video stuff next week is just going to be actually finishing that Expedition 33 review so that it can come out the last Wednesday of the month like I wanted it to. I did want it to technically come out on the 13th if possible. That obviously did not happen, and I'm not going to have enough time to have that out by the 20th either. I could, if I just spent all day every day for the next like 5 days doing that. But because I want to do the weapons review and I have some other stuff that I need to get on top of as well, that video is just going to be on the 27th instead. On Thursday, the 28th on the main channel will be reading diary on Don Quixote. So kind of how I said I need to finish part 1 before I actually know how I feel about that part 1 of Don Quixote. That's what that reading diary is going to be all about. That Thursday will be on the first half of Don Quixote, kind of going into some of the things that I like, some of the things that I don't, maybe talking about some of my favorite scenes. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that video yet, but that will be happening next Thursday. And then on Friday the 29th on the second channel will be episode 5 of the Final Fantasy Let's Play, so nothing new to talk about there. That's all that I have for the upcoming releases. So as for like a more miscellaneous type of thing, what I've got going on over the next couple weeks, I did mention, I think I mentioned in the last Fortnight on the Isle that I have like some doctor's appointments and stuff like that going on this month that I've been having to take care of. I've had some of those things already happen the last couple of weeks, and this is partially to blame, sort of, on me being behind on videos. It's not super to blame. Like, I can't just say, oh, I've been having appointments and that's why I'm behind. It's like, it's a little bit, but it's not the full story. But the one appointment that I think is relevant for the channel to mention is that I went to an ear, nose, throat doctor recently at the time of recording. It was yesterday that I did that. I went to that appointment before I watched Weapons. In fact, you know, killed 2 birds with 1 stone there. I have a crooked nose. Playing Twister a couple of years back, I copped a knee to the face in the middle of the game, and I knew basically looking in the mirror immediately when it happened that my nose is a little bit lopsided this direction. In fact, I'm looking at myself in this video, and I can still kind of tell that it's a little bit lopsided. It's not super noticeable. It's not like it broke my nose, but it's definitely crooked a little bit. It's kind of the irony of going to a doctor and being like, tell me what's wrong, and feeling reassured, being told what's wrong because you know that something's wrong and that it's not your imagination. My left side over here is crooked inwards, so like this, coming in towards my face, and my right side is crooked outwards, coming this direction, which makes sense because I got hit over here, which made my nose go like this. So things are a little bit crooked. Just a little bit, which has made things like congestion and breathing problems a little bit worse over the last couple years since it happened, especially like at night. Can definitely be a problem. I have troubles breathing a lot more, and over this summer in particular, I've just gotten really over it. And so we've decided that I'm just going to have my nose operated on. And that's going to be in September. So basically right now I'm planning videos around that, and strangely enough the timing of a lot of things is going to work out, even though September is when reading diaries and stuff are going to be happening. It's like, how am I going to do that with surgery? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more in due time. Next Fortnight on the Isle for sure. I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that in detail once I have things kind of lined up, but right now I'm planning my September schedule, and I'm going to be working on the rest of August. I'm going to be working on basically all of the September content that I can possibly get done, just to have it all done before September even happens, so that when I have surgery and whatnot, it's not going to in any way affect videos, and that way I don't have to record videos while I'm in the immediate recovery with stuff all up in my nose. And for the record, it's not cosmetic surgery, it's functional surgery for how things actually are on the inside. It shouldn't change basically any of the way that I actually look on the outside. Just so you know, I'm not getting a nose job. It's like I actually have a crooked cartilage and crap in there that's all messed up. But either way, the point that I'm trying to make is I'm going to be a busybody the next couple of weeks, and I'll be able to update you a little bit more on the next Fortnight on the Isle. Hopefully, when I'm in recovery from surgery and all that kind of stuff, I have a couple of non-video content related projects that I do need to work on over the next couple of months, like databases for my game and book libraries are the biggest ones that I'm working on right now, and those will take a lot of time, even dedicatedly, just to get done. So I'm probably going to be working on a lot of that, like while I'm, you know, recovering from surgery and don't want to be recording videos. And then we'll see what happens on the live stream side of things. So that's kind of what I have, an idea of what's going on over the next couple of weeks. But like I said, I'll update you in the next Fortnight on the Isle when I have more information to share on that front. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you did, this is a little bit longer than I intended for it to be. I apologize for that. I feel like that always happens anymore. But I appreciate you for watching if you did. For now, I've been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me Casey, and I hope to see you in any of the videos that I have coming out this fortnight.